Okay, so we're talking about the yellow zone, the learning zone, and I want to connect this to our work as interpreters, okay? So here we go. We're back in our bullseye diagram, and like we said, this learning zone is uncomfortable for our brain, requires focused effort and attention. It's growing as it's stretched, and the PFC, the prefrontal cortex, has to work to stay regulated, to stay integrated here. And this zone is where interpreting happens. So again, it's a range. So some interpreting work may not stretch us too much, might feel real enjoyable and not challenging. Some interpreting work might stretch us a lot for various reasons. It could be topic, could be features of the speakers that make it more challenging for us. There's so many reasons why it could be just stretching our brains in a way that is uncomfortable and that pushes us out to the edge of our learning zone. So this is where interpreting happens, okay? I want to connect this to values. So I'm going to read this. You can read it along with me. This is a quote from Brene Brown on values, and it's a definition that she gives. So a value is a way of being or believing that we hold most important. Living into our values means that we do more than profess our values, we practice them. We walk our talk. We're clear about what we believe and hold important, and we take care that our intentions, words, thoughts, and behaviors align with those beliefs. Okay, and this is really important because if we are doing this interpreting work, and like we just defined, interpreting work happens in the learning zone. So our brains are a little bit stressed. We're outside of our comfort zone. What can happen in those areas, what can happen when we're pushed into this ledge type place for our brain is our emotions can respond. Remember, our body can dump those chemicals and create emotions that can drive us into fight or flight. What values can do for us, especially in that delicate place, is give us a North Star to guide toward. Give us a calm, grounded focus or goal to maneuver toward. And Brene Brown talks about the importance of our actions being aligned with our values, not that they're just something nice that we say, but that they are actually uphold in the ways that we show up in our interactions. So let's see what that means about our work as interpreters. And let's get more clear about what is that value? What is that North Star that we're guiding ourselves toward or that we want to be aligning ourselves with in these interactions, especially when we're pushed to those outer edges of our learning zone. So on your handout, and for any of you who were at the live workshop for self-care for stressful times, this is a different worksheet. So you'll want to print out this worksheet because we just have some extra stuff on here this time. And this number 7 is what's new for you. It says on the back of this page or elsewhere, write the short story of why you became an interpreter. So we're looking at why do we do this work? And sometimes it can be really helpful to go back to the beginning and reconnect with that early spark of what even drove you toward this work in the first place. So think back to why you became an interpreter. Consider what you love about interpreting, what you have loved over the time that you've been doing it, or what you still love today, or maybe what you loved in the beginning. What lights you up about this work? Where can you feel that spark inside yourself that says, yes, this is what I want to be doing? And then we're going to think through what values it represents. So The first thing I want you to do, though, with number 7 is to take some time to write out your story of why you became an interpreter. And you can take as much time with this as you want. For purposes of the workshop, I'm asking you to take 10 minutes and just speak to some of these questions in your writing and in your sharing in the comments below. So then the second part of this is that once you've thought through how you came to be in this work, what drew you to this, why, what you love about it, why you became an interpreter, you can look through this list, and this comes from Brene Brown again. These are some words that represent our values. This is not an exhaustive list. There are many more words in the English language for things that we might value, but this is a place to start. So you can first go through this list and circle all the words that resonate or that seem like contenders for your top 2 or 3. I'm going to ask you to narrow this down. Brene requires that her participants in her leadership workshops narrow their core values down to two core values. And what she says about this is that this process or this practice of narrowing down your values is that most often we've circled a whole bunch. 10 is a common number that she sees. People will narrow down to 10 core values, and they say these are my core values. And what she challenges people to do is actually that she finds that there are usually 2 values that you can use to represent your core values, and that most of the other values that you gravitate toward can sort of be nested underneath each of those. So you might find that yourself. But go through this list, circle all that resonate, and then choose 2 or 3, I'm going to be flexible, 2 or 3 values that really represent why you do this work. So it sort of answers this or finishes this question, this prompt. I do this work for what? Why are you an interpreter? So an example here, 2 of mine are intellectual stimulation and equality. So the first one is intellectual stimulation. I love the way that interpreting stimulates my brain, learning about new things, seeing interpersonal dynamics, just all of the information that we're exposed to and the process of interpreting. I like how that feels in my brain. So that's one of my core values. The other is equality. I care very much about equal access to communication. And sometimes in the hardest situations where I may completely disagree with what a person is communicating, I can fall back on my value of I strongly believe that everyone should have access to communicating their beliefs and their perspectives, even if it's something that I don't agree with. So that's an example there. You may come up with different value words, but those are 2 of mine, just as an example. So you'll narrow it down to 2 value words. And then to go a step farther, and you know how I like to take concepts and then apply them, put them into practice, bring them into your life. So you can create some reminders with these, like we talked about before. You can make sticky notes, write sticky notes and place them places where for example, if you're working in a remote environment and you're sitting at a computer, you may have a little sticky note on your monitor or on your desk that has your 2 value words that helps keep you connected to those. I like to make lock screens for my phone. This might not necessarily apply for when you're actually interpreting, but throughout the day, then you might be seeing your phone when you're on a break or going to the bathroom or just in the morning and in the evening. And that can help remind you, these are my values. You might create a mantra, something that you repeat to yourself. I do this work for equality. I do this work for stimulation. That can help ground you in your values when things get tough. You can meditate on these values. You can set reminders in your calendar. I love to do that. I use Google Calendars, and it's real easy to set recurring reminders. And so those will just pop up and remind me of these things that I want to be thinking about throughout the day. These values can also then guide or inform what you choose to go on to learn about. So similar to the last lesson where I had you think about, what do you want to learn more about? What teachers, what organizations, what topics? So you can use your values to influence or to help you hone in on what might be the next topic for your further learning or exploration or even your work. Okay, so this is the end of this section. So I just want to give you time now. Go ahead and take 10 minutes on the back of your worksheet or in your journal or elsewhere, or maybe with a friend. You could have, go out to coffee with a friend or go for a walk or have a video chat and share with each other what your story of why you became an interpreter, and pay special attention as you're talking through that to connect into those values. Be listening to yourself for, what are those values that this represents to me? What really drew me to this profession or to this work? And then share with us in the comments whatever you feel comfortable sharing, whether that's your whole story or whether it's your values. Share something with us and comment on each other's sharing in order to just really connect with each other around this idea of, we are all here for a reason. We're here with a purpose. There's a reason why we chose this profession, and let's reconnect with it as a community. Let's reconnect with those values. And that's one of the things that can keep us buoyed in times of stress. Okay, have fun with this. Bye.